morning, pottery people. Welcome to clay class. Today I'm going to make a little clay flute, an ocarina. There's many different ways to make the ocarina. I'm going to show you the way that I've found to be the simplest, most straightforward way to make a little clay flute that even upper elementary kids can make. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a tool that's needed to make the fipple, or the little whistle part that's inside. And so I'm taking a tongue depressor and I'm going to cut it in half the long way. And sometimes you can just snap them in half. I'm going to try to get this one so it's right down the middle. There we go. That's pretty good. And then I need to lop one end off on each of these. And then I'm going to sand it to a sharp point. So just taking some sandpaper and I'm just dragging it. A nice flat end on here, but so there. See that nice sharp end? I'm going to do the same thing here. And these tools are going to be easy, simple tools for creating this. Okay, so step one, I'm just going to take a ball of clay, about the size of a plum, and then I'm going to make a pinch pot. This pinch pot I'm going to make is going to be the deepest pinch pot I can make. I want thin walls, so I'm just using my thumb and my index fingers, and I'm pinching and twisting and trying to get the walls even. And thin. I'm just going to stretch it so it's a nice deep cup as well. Okay, once I get a nice deep cup, I'm going to close this off, but I'm just going to add a little water so things stick. Now, you can see what I'm doing is I'm capturing as much interior air as I can. Nice interior volume. And I'm closing off my seam. And this, I could use any tool to do this. This makes a shape that's kind of like a stuffed pasta shell. Kind of a chubby little empanada. So there's my shape. Now, what I want to do is I want to pick one side that's going to be my mouthpiece, where I'm going to create the fipple, the little whistle wedge. And I could create it on one of these edges, or I could create it here. And I think I'm going to create it at this spot right here. And so what that means is I'm just going to create a little flat area and a little mouthpiece, a little spot for my mouthpiece. So there you can see my shape. I've got the flat spot, and this is where my whistle wedge, my fipple, is going to go. I'm going to blow in here. And I've got some nice interior volume, not too big. The bigger the form, the lower the pitch, right? So I'm going to stick this in front of the fan for just a few minutes and let it stiffen up, and then I'll show you how to make the whistle wedge or the fipple. My mouthpiece is right there. Okay? Okay. Now, I'm going to make the fipple for my ocarina. Fipple is the little whistle wedge that creates the sound. So, I have a nice flat section here. I've got my area to blow in. And let this dry perhaps a little too long. Okay, so my goal is to poke this in here to create an air shaft, which is going to go right underneath this surface. So it's got to go just right flush underneath that surface. So that's my goal. So, see that, how it's nice and level? That's my goal. So, now my goal is to cut a little square, about maybe a 1/4 inch, a little bigger, and then I'm going to have this edge is going to angle at a 45-degree angle. Now, where to cut the hole? I don't want to go too far back. I want the hole, so the hole, the beginning of the hole is just beyond where this wall is. So that wall is going to come up, and the inside edge is going to be about right here. So I'm just going to cut straight down onto that piece of wood. I'm going to cut a little square for starters. Get that out of there. You can see the wood under there. Can you see the wood? And then I have to create an angle, a wedge here. And this other tongue depressor tool works really good for that. So I'm going to stabilize this. I'm going to hold that tight, and I'm just going to kind of go down with my tool to create that nice sharp wedge. And I'm right up against the tongue depressor. And then usually what I'll do is I'll just kind of give it a little wiggle whack back and forth, and then I'll pull it out. Now, when pulling it out, you might end up clogging some clay in there, so sometimes you just got to do a little clearing. Now notice that when I pulled this out, I can see down into that space. I don't want, if I have clay there, it's not going to work. Okay, so I've got a good whistle sound there. That's exactly what I wanted. Okay, so the basic concept of the ocarina, I have my chamber and I have my mouthpiece. So here's my wall thickness. In theory, I'm going to poke my stick in here. This is my air inlet, and I want my stick to ride exactly underneath this surface. And then when I cut my hole is going to be really close to this edge here. Okay, so my hole's going to go in here. Here's my 1/4 inch hole, and then I'm going to angle my fipple at about a 45-degree angle. So here's my hole. This is my hole right here. So the air is going to go in, and it's going to hit this wedge right here. Here's my wedge, and it's going to split, and the air is going to go up, and it's going to go down, and that's what creates my sound. So this thing here, this whistle wedge, is called a fipple. Okay? And I have my chamber, and I have my mouthpiece. So the air is going to go in, it's going to hit that little wedge, and it's going to split, and it creates air pressure inside the chamber, and the splitting air is what creates the whistle sound. Okay, so now, at this point, I want to think about what I want to do to my little ocarina in terms of design. I've had students in the past make this into like a little animal, a bird, a mouse, whatever you want, a dinosaur. So they could add clay, they could add legs. the first time that I picked up an ocarina in Mexico, it was a little turtle shape with just a pattern on the back, a painted pattern designed on the back. You know, your students could just paint a nice little pattern on here also. That would be appropriate as well. But to get different pitches, I'm going to poke some holes. The bigger the hole, the bigger the interval of the pitch. I also want to think about how I'm going to hold it. I could hold it with the fipple going down, or I could hold it with the fipple going up. And I want to think about my fingers, where they're going to go. I'm just going to start with 2 holes right here. So you can use anything for this. I have a little poker tool, but you could use a sharp pencil or the end of a paintbrush. Sometimes I'll use like a shish kebab skewer, a bamboo skewer. So I usually start with 1 hole and then check the interval. That's almost a 4th. So I'm just going to go a little bigger, and then I'll have almost a perfect 4th. Okay, I'm going to try one more hole here. Okay. I'm going to go for a 3rd hole. Sometimes if you get 2 holes and 3 pitches, that's fine. That's all you really need. Okay, let's go slightly bigger. Okay. It's almost a pentatonic scale. I could play some blues with this thing, the blues ocarina. So that's it. Simple clay flute, accessible project for students as young as 5th grade. But I've done this with middle school and high school students as well. Okay. Make sure you subscribe below. Check back. Lots of new projects coming up. And I want to thank everybody for watching.